Is divorce in the cards?
It depends on him. I am at my breaking point, and Sumit needs to stand up and do something.
She's not crying. She's not yelling. She's not threatening. She's done. Quietly, finally, Jenny has decided to walk away. And this time, it's not a bluff. It's clarity. Her voice doesn't tremble. It cuts. Because when someone stops fighting, you don't celebrate. You worry. Jenny spent a decade trying to prove herself to a family that never wanted her there. And now she's sitting on that studio couch, calmly explaining why she's ready to leave her marriage forever. Welcome to Reality Sport. I'm Aliva, and this one's personal. If you've ever tried to love someone who never stood up for you, watch this all the way through. And tell me in the comments, what would you do if your partner kept choosing their parents over you? Because that's what this is. Jenny isn't asking for luxury. She's asking for a door she can close. Privacy. A little space to breathe. Right now, she and Sumit are living in one single room at his parents' house. Not a floor. Not an apartment. A room. No matter how long she's been around, Jenny's not part of the household. She's a tolerated guest in their son's room. On paper, they're married. In reality, she's boxed in, physically, emotionally, culturally, and it's been crushing her. Mentally and physically. Isolation this intense doesn't leave bruises, but it leaves cracks. The kind she's finally done patching. Sumit knows it too. He even admits it. When they lived alone, they were happier. Jenny was more free. They were more intimate. She smiled. They had their own rhythm. But now, with his parents watching their every move, judging her, micromanaging how she sits and what she cooks, that rhythm's gone. Intimacy is flatlined. Communication is in survival mode. She's lost all sense of freedom, and he's losing her. Slowly, and then all at once. And still, he won't move. He won't even try. Despite knowing she's suffering, Sumit stands frozen at the feet of loyalty. Not to Jenny, but to his parents. He says he loves her. He says losing her would destroy him. But his actions, they say something else. Over and over again, he tells her his parents' happiness matters more, even if it breaks their marriage. You can't have it both ways. You can't say someone is your whole world while making them live on the outskirts of your life. This is what happens when emotionally passive behavior gets dressed up as cultural duty. Watching Jenny talk now, you see it. She's not emotional because she's past that point. She says she doesn't want to go back to America, but she will. If he doesn't act, not talk, act, choose, because her patience isn't on hold anymore, it's gone. She's packed it up right beside her dignity. And the scariest part? He's still sitting there, silent, as if someone else has to tell him what to do next. Most days, Jenny doesn't leave that room. Not because she's lazy, not because she wants space, but because that room is all she has. Her world is a bed, 4 walls, and the deafening silence of being unwanted in someone else's home. She's a wife in name, a guest in practice, and invisible everywhere else. She's not close to his parents. She's not included in family activities. She doesn't eat with them, laugh with them, or live with them. She exists around them. And when she tries to be part of things, it's awkward, cold, tense. So now, she doesn't try anymore. Why would she? Jenny stays in bed. She watches the world from inside a room that never feels like hers. When the air outside is judgment and pressure, sometimes 4 walls feel safer, even if they're suffocating. And where's Sumit? He floats through it all like nothing's wrong. Emotionally flat, quiet, detached. As if that's enough. As if his presence, not participation, is what holds a marriage together. He's not being cruel. He's being passive. Which in a dying relationship can feel even worse. She tells him directly. She doesn't sugarcoat it. She can't. I'm not happy. I don't feel like your wife. I feel like an outsider. His response? I can't be bothered. Actual words, out loud. To his wife, who left her country for him, who gave up everything to stand beside him. That I can't be bothered says everything. It says, this is easier for me so I don't care if it's killing you. And it's not about not understanding. It's about not wanting to risk his comfort to do something about it. You're about to see how choosing comfort over courage can destroy the person next to you. Now, before anyone rushes to blame culture or tradition, slow down. This isn't about loving your parents or respecting heritage. Most cultures have ways of balancing partners and parents. The problem here is imbalance, and Sumit's refusal to make even small adjustments. He doesn't meet her halfway. He doesn't meet her at all. Their sex life? Gone. Non-existent. Because who wants to share physical affection when there's no peace, no space, no emotional intimacy to build from? Sumit sits there wondering why they're no longer close, while acting like the presence of his parents in the next room isn't a mood killer. Meanwhile, Jenny's curled up under the blankets, questioning why she's in a relationship that doesn't feel like one. And the sad part? Sumit already knows what makes her happy. He's seen it work before. So why, knowing the answer, does he keep choosing the opposite? They used to laugh more. That apartment they lived in, not fancy, but theirs, had something this house never could. Privacy, peace, actual freedom to talk, argue, love, exist. Jenny could wear what she wanted, cook what she liked. They had space to fight without an audience, and space to make up without whispering. For a while, it was working. Not perfect, but working. Then came the big compromise. Or more accurately, the breaking point disguised as one. Sumit suggested they move in with his parents. He framed it as a temporary solution, practical, cultural. Family wanted it. Maybe his mom would finally warm up to Jenny if they lived together. Maybe sharing space would build bridges. That wasn't a bridge. It was a trap. And Jenny fell in, again, for love. Sumit now says he never wanted to hurt her, that this was all about fulfilling expectations, that his parents believe family means living together, even after marriage, but in the same breath, he admits they were happier before. So why isn't that happiness what he's fighting for? Why is Jenny the only one expected to bend until she breaks? He told the cameras, almost casually, that she'll get used to it, like she's the defective appliance in the house that just needs adjusting. Not a human being crushed by unspoken rules and expectations she didn't sign up for. Not once in that sentence did he stop to wonder, should she have to get used to it? The next moment shows exactly how a man's guilt can gaslight his own marriage. And it's not purely evil. It's conditioning. Sumit was raised in a system where parents are never questioned. Parents are gods, he said. Actual words, not metaphor. Gods. And when you're taught something like that from the minute you can speak, it sticks hard. Even as an adult trying to build your own life. You don't challenge gods, you obey. But loving your parents doesn't make it okay to abandon your partner emotionally. Respecting values shouldn't mean invalidating your wife. And when you realize those two things are clashing, that's when most people make choices, real ones. Instead, Sumit chooses to sit in it, hoping Jenny's side of the rope gives before his does. What makes all of this even more ironic? His brother and sister-in-law were also living at home, and they left. They moved out. They hit their limit. They knew it was unhealthy to stay. No scandal, no shame. They just did what was best for their own family. So why is Sumit clinging to a situation even his own blood rejected? This time, Jenny doesn't raise her voice. Her face is calm, her tone low, her words clear. She's not angry, she's resolved. Because when you've repeated yourself enough times to echo the same sentence back in your own head, every day, without change, you stop screaming. You start deciding. And Jenny has decided. They're alone on the stage. The studio is quiet, the air thick, not with rage, but with the sound of someone experienced in emotional rejection finally building boundaries of her own. I don't want to go back to America, but I will if I have to. That's not a threat. It's a promise soft enough to hurt more than yelling ever could. She isn't waving divorce in his face like a punishment. She's laying the situation bare. If he won't fight for her now, she won't wait for him later. What does Sumit do? He reacts with discomfort, not urgency. He treats it as drama, not a disaster. His first instinct isn't action, it's rationalizing. This sounds like a threat, he says. As if the problem here is her tone, not his behavior. As if her desperation is inconvenient, not justified. This is Sumit's pattern. When emotions surface, he tightens up, emotionally avoidant, always leaning on culture when he's expected to commit to action. Every time the moment calls for courage, he retreats into tradition. He says once again, "My parents expect us to live together." He repeats it like it's a legal clause in a family contract. Immutable, permanent, larger than him, larger than his marriage. But the math here is simple. If your parents' happiness demands your wife's misery, how long do you think that triangle holds? Up next, we hit the moment where Jenny stops trying and starts preparing. Jenny sits there, nodding slowly, absorbing the weight of everything he won't do, and what that silence confirms. Because this isn't just about space, it's about seeing. She doesn't feel seen, she doesn't feel heard, and she definitely doesn't feel chosen. When asked about how their marriage is doing, Sumit deflects again. I think she can adapt. Except, here's the twist. She has adapted. Over and over. To disrespect? To isolation? To loveless, intimacy-starved weeks crammed in a single backroom with no walls. No privacy, no warmth. Jenny did what she could. And now she's done doing more. Let's talk about their intimacy, or what used to be intimacy. There is none. Jenny says it plainly. She has no desire, no emotional space left for closeness. And it's not a sudden switch. It's a slow erosion. Intimacy dies when one person keeps begging to be acknowledged, while the other speaks tradition like a defense mechanism. How do you feel sexually safe, emotionally safe, when your partner won't prioritize your comfort? What desire grows in a room 2 doors down from people who have made it clear they barely tolerate you? The disconnect between them now isn't just cultural. It's physiological, emotional, marital. There's no oxygen left between them, and somehow Sumit can't or won't see that. He defends their life arrangement like it's noble, that sharing a roof is sacred, that it's not disrespect, it's tradition. But tradition isn't a shield from responsibility. It's not a reason to let your wife sit alone every day, eat alone, sleep in silence, beg for distance just to breathe. She tells him outright, "You need to do something for us." And his response? A shrug, a grimace. Then that tired mantra. This is how I grew up. My parents are like gods. No one's arguing with respecting parents, but gods don't need their worship to come at the expense of a partner's well-being. And Jenny isn't asking him to exile them. She's not threatening no contact. She's asking for a separate place to survive in, a home with walls. And if he won't get up and walk out of his comfort zone for that, then what likely saves this marriage? And here's the real contradiction. Moments later, Sumit says it himself. If she moves out, our marriage won't last. There it is, in his own voice. He knows exactly what's at stake. He doesn't even deny it. Her leaving would mean the end. Then why? When presented with that devastating clarity, is he still sitting frozen? Is it love or guilt? Is he emotionally immature, unable to make hard decisions without parental approval? Or has he made a private deal with himself to let the marriage go quietly, instead of admitting it face on? We don't know yet where the line is. But one thing is clear. The version of Sumit who once jumped through hoops to gain his parents' acceptance of Jenny. He's not in the room right now. This one, he's checked out. And that's what Jenny sees. That quiet disconnection. That absence. That refusal to act while pretending to care. Sumit told her their marriage would fall apart if she left the house. He's not wrong. So why does he keep making sure she eventually has to? Sumit once had this idea that the cafe would bring everyone together. That shared purpose would fix what love and patience alone couldn't. That cooking under the same roof would somehow do what years of arguments and awkward dinners failed to do, make his family feel like a real family again. Like they were in this together. A team. But the truth? That cafe didn't heal anything. It exposed everything. It was supposed to be neutral ground, a family business, a shared dream, a place where Jenny could find belonging. She was even willing to help, despite everything else. The drama, the tension, her being the odd one out. She still tried. She always does. And then, one by one, they all bailed. First, it was Amy and Shri. Then, Sedna quietly pulled back. And finally, Jenny and Sumit walked too. Nobody fights. Nobody communicates. They all just quit. No ceremony. No closure. Just a slow, collective decision to let the so-called dream dry up like overcooked dal on an empty plate. Because a shared kitchen can't fix fractured people. And forced togetherness when resentment is seething under the surface? That's not cozy. That's chaos waiting to sink something with your name on it. When Jenny says, "I just want to be happy," it lands like a whisper. We've heard louder things on this show, but it's the most honest thing anyone said all season. She's not begging for luxury or grand gestures. She's not drowning in jealousy or asking to be spoiled. She just wants peace, a place to breathe, to stop pushing her emotions down so dinner won't feel like a courtroom. But even the cafe couldn't give her that. Another place where she tried to belong and ended up standing outside a door that never fully opened. Coming up is the moment Jenny realizes she's been betrayed twice. Once at home, once at work. There's such a tragic irony in this. The family that once told her she wasn't good enough finally lets her help professionally. But even that gets taken away. And nobody has a conversation about it. Not even her own husband. One day, she's part of the project. The next day, she's finishing her last chai and walking out for good. Where's the accountability? Nowhere. Somehow, it turns quiet again because silence feels easier than truth. And that's the pattern she's stuck in. Giving her all, saying what hurts, trying new ways, and getting blamed for chapters she didn't even write. Let's not forget, the same family who Pearl clutched over her being too modern or too foreign were totally cool with her working when it benefited them. Suddenly, it wasn't, "She's too different." It was, "Can you run to the cafe in the morning and cover the shift?" And to make the déjà vu worse, the pattern shows up again. Sumit's own brother left. No blame. No shade. He's allowed to move out when the family setting no longer worked. He's allowed to politely opt out of the unrealistic fantasy that staying close means things are okay. So where's Jenny's option? Where's her escape hatch? She isn't family enough for celebration, just enough for grind and guilt. Sumit still talks as if this whole plan could have worked if only everyone tried a little harder. If only the energy had stayed right. But that cafe didn't lack effort. It lacked honesty. The same way their house lacks warmth. You can't force connection. You can't work side by side with people who only show up when it suits them, and then expect to build love on top of that. And when people stop showing up, assumptions creep in. Questions turn to accusations. And suddenly, Jenny's not just the outsider again, she's the problem. Blame doesn't need facts. Blame needs silence. And Sumit has always been good at silence. Too good. So with one more thing taken apart brick by brick, another shared goal tossed aside like everyone's dirty aprons, Jenny's starting to see it clearly. This wasn't ever going to work. Not because she didn't care, but because the environment never wanted her joy. It wanted her obedience. And she's whispering something now, something Sumit still pretends not to hear. Maybe none of this was ever about building a life together. Maybe it was about remaking hers until she disappeared. But silence never lasts forever. And rumors love a void. Now, someone's about to drop a story that rewrites everything Jenny thought she knew and drags her name through the grease-stained floor. Enter Roit, the unexpected grenade in the middle of a wreckage that was already falling apart. He walks into the studio with a casual smirk, says his hellos, but you can feel the tension before a single accusation drops. See, Roit isn't here for fun. He's about to light a match. And Sumit? He already handed him the matches and left the fuel. Roit, without a bit of hesitation, blames Jenny for the failure of the family cafe. On camera. In front of everyone. And his source? Sumit. He says Sumit told him Jenny didn't allow him to work with Roit. that she blocked him from helping, that she controlled him. In Royt's words, Sumit couldn't contribute because Jenny said no. Jenny's eyes don't even widen. She's not surprised. She's used to this, being the reason things fall apart, even when she's the only one picking up pieces. But this time, she's firing back, really firing. She says clearly, "I never told you not to work with him. Why are you lying?" It's not a nervous denial. It's a calm drag. A woman who knows exactly what's being twisted and refuses to play polite anymore. Here's the truth, as told by Jenny, and when you hear it, it makes Sumit look even worse. She never stopped him from working. She stopped him from going out after work, getting drunk every night with no accountability. She didn't care about the job. She cared about the behavior that came with it. The spirals, the hangovers, the drinking. Suddenly, that whole narrative Rohit painted about Jenny clipping Sumit's wings starts to look hollow. Because here's something important. It's not about independence if you come home drunk and crawling. That's not freedom. That's avoidance in a beer bottle. The next few minutes show how rumors can rot the inside of a relationship faster than facts ever could. Let's dig deeper into that alcohol thread. Jenny brings it up because no one else will. She describes how Sumit would drink too much, go out late, come home disoriented, and she wasn't comfortable having her partner act like a teenager in a marriage that demands adult energy. She didn't say, "Don't work." She said, "Respect your life with me." Very different conversation, but Sumit, conveniently, seems to have translated it into an excuse for his friend. An easy scapegoat when he didn't want to commit to Rohit's plans in the first place. Blame Jenny. It's easier. Rohit, for his part, seems more interested in proving a point than solving anything. He tells Jenny she should let Sumit off his leash. Yes, leash. Like Sumit, some misbehaving puppy instead of a grown man responsible for his own decisions. And the bigger joke? This whole thing started because Sumit agreed to live in a house where his parents control his every move. But Jenny's the one getting accused of controlling him. So now we've got Roy throwing passive-aggressive jabs on one side, and Sumit sitting there offering no defense on the other. No clarification, no correction. He lets Roy's weaponized half-truths fly and says almost nothing. You can see Jenny's mind spinning. Not out of insecurity, but out of strategy. She knows exactly what this silence means. Sumit is okay with letting her take the hit. He's okay letting Roy believe she's the manipulator, the problem, the leash holder, because it means Sumit doesn't have to own his own cowardice. Control isn't about who makes the decisions. It's about who refuses to take responsibility when things get uncomfortable. Let's not forget, Sumit is the one who told Rohit this information, or at least let him interpret it that way. Either he was cowardly enough to lie, or spineless enough to allow misunderstanding. Pick one. Because the result is the same. Jenny gets publicly shamed, again, for the emotional babysitting she had to do privately. But Rohit takes it one step further. He paints himself as the one who knows what marriage should look like, accusing Jenny of being too restrictive while sneaking in subtle references that Sumit should be allowed to find joy outside the relationship too. So we arrive at this messy, exposed place. Sumit has undercut his own partner to look harmless to his friend. Jenny has been fed to the wolves, again, and told her concern over drinking somehow equals control. And Roy, he leaves congratulating himself for speaking his truth while misunderstanding the assignment entirely. Jenny isn't scared anymore. She's tired of being lied about, of having her boundaries warped into ultimatums, of men like Roy pretending bad behavior is personality and passive husbands acting like spectators. So now we're left with a question Sumit refuses to answer. Did he lie to Roy to dodge the work? Or is someone in this twisted circle spinning stories and letting Jenny absorb all the backlash? Now it's the parents' turn to speak. And if you were hoping for a breakthrough, it never comes. Sadhna and Anil walk into the studio, holding on to the same script they've used from day one. Unity equals proximity, love means obedience, and family lives under one roof. No exceptions. It's not a conversation. It's a declaration. Sadhna sits upright, unmoved. She speaks calmly, but every word lands like cement. She doesn't ask how Jenny's feeling. She doesn't wonder why their marriage is falling apart. Her position is simple. If Sumit and Jenny move out, she and Anil will not be happy. There's no discussion about compromise. The idea is instantly shut down with 4 words, "We will not accept." And just like that, the room tells you everything. Jenny's discomfort, her daily anxiety, her complete disintegration as a woman with her own needs, it doesn't matter. She's not part of the equation. She's the variable being forced to adapt, not a voice being brought into the solution. Notice what they don't say. They never say, "We understand Jenny isn't happy," or "We hear that living together hasn't worked." Instead, it's, "She'll adjust. She has to." The expectation is total assimilation, not harmony, submission. And if someone repeats the same request every day for months, "Please, can we move?" It's not because they're demanding. It's because they're being ignored. Jenny hasn't changed her tone. She's changed her hope. The twist about to hit flips everything Jenny thought she understood about control. Sadhna says they believe in family living as one, that it's their tradition, that separating the house is separating the heart. But what about the other couple who already left? Sumit's brother and his wife quietly moved out earlier. There was no scandal, no curse, no meltdown. The same traditions Sadhna now clings to didn't apply then. They were allowed to choose peace. Why isn't Jenny given the same grace? Here's the kicker. Sadhna throws in a bizarre justification. She claims the brother's wife cooks meat. And because Sadhna is vegetarian, she couldn't tolerate the smell. That was apparently the reason they moved out. But you hear it, and it stinks of a cover, because Jenny and Sumit cook meat too. And somehow, that never earned her freedom. It's another double standard, carefully packaged as dietary preference. All those tolerance speeches vanish when it comes to Jenny. And this is what tolerance actually sounds like in that house: conditional. If Jenny stays quiet, stays out of the living room, avoids confrontation, skips the family moments, and becomes invisible, then maybe she'll be tolerated. Not respected, not loved. Tolerated. Sadhna says with a straight face that she's happy if Sumit is happy. But everything about this story has shown the opposite. From sabotaging their relationship, to resisting their marriage, to emotionally restricting their space, this has never been about Sumit's happiness. It's been about preserving control. Let's remember, years ago, when Sumit first told his parents about Jenny, it caused a massive rupture. Sadhna and Anil disowned him. There were tears, threats, legal tension, total emotional exile. They didn't accept Jenny until Sumit was ready to cut ties permanently. That's what it took, almost losing him entirely. And what's wild? Jenny was willing to forgive that. She stayed. She built a bridge. She asked for peace. And the moment that bridge was built, Sadhna reclaimed her authority like nothing happened. Now that they're back under one roof, Jenny's being treated like a phase that refused to end. A project gone wrong. A lesson not yet learned. And what does Sumit do as all this unfolds? He sits there, eyes down, brows furrowed, but says nothing. Not one word in defense. Not one compassionate gesture to bridge the war between the woman who raised him and the woman who's begging for a future with him. Jenny watches them all. Sumit, his mom, the panel, and she starts to put things together. She's not a villain. She's not dramatic. She's simply the only one in the room who's evolved. And that makes her dangerous to people who don't want change. Compare that to Sadhna, who won't even allow alcohol in the house. Or meat, depending on who's cooking. She wants boundaries when it comes to her values, but asks others to erase theirs completely. The hypocrisy is loud, and it leaves Jenny small. Sadhna won't move. Anil won't challenge her. Sumit won't choose. And Jenny has reached the point where it's not just emotionally unsustainable, it's inhumane. So here we are again at that invisible line between culture and control. At what point does respecting your elders become disrespecting your partner? Sadhna says she doesn't want to create problems. But refusing your son and daughter-in-law a chance at basic privacy after seeing them suffer under your roof? Isn't that being the problem? And Jenny doesn't even demand rejection of the family. She doesn't want drama. She's constantly saying they can visit, be part of their lives, see each other often. What she wants is the right to have a marriage, not a permanent extended stay in someone else's home with a monitored schedule. At this point, it's bigger than the walls. Mom, this house has become a symbol of everything that's gone emotionally unrepaired. And still, when given the chance to fix it, even when told directly that Jenny might leave forever, Sadhna says no. The answer is still no. No to space, no to compromise, no to respecting Jenny as an equal part of this family. Because in their eyes, she never was. And now, not even the possibility of losing her shakes the ground. So we're left asking one terrifying, obvious question. Now what? There's no fight left in Jenny's voice. Just one last ask, one last gentle offer of sanity wrapped in compromise. She's not slamming a door, she's holding it open. Her solution is simple. Let's live nearby, not hours away, not a different city. Just close enough to see the family, but far enough to breathe. That's it. A chance to build a proper marriage without walls closing in every single day. Sumit listens, and then gives her the same line he always gives. They expect us to live together. He says it like a fact, not a choice. Like he's reading aloud from instructions some third party wrote at birth. No introspection, no reevaluation, just a recycled line from the same broken playbook. As if tradition means loving someone less. Jenny takes a breath. You can visibly see how much energy it takes her to say the next words. I can't live like this. And if you've been watching from the start, you know that isn't a dramatic statement. That's not an ultimatum. That is a woman narrating her own slow erosion. One syllable at a time. Her hands are already off the steering wheel. She's not threatening to change the route. She's about to exit. You feel the tension twist in the air. Not because of a fight, actually the opposite. Because once someone stops begging, the silence becomes deafening. Next reveal will show who started this story as a wife, and may now be walking out as a ghost. This is emotional starvation in its rawest form. Jenny has nothing left to feed this relationship with. No support, no privacy, no physical or emotional intimacy, and worst of all, no reassurance from the very person who should be making her feel like the most important part of his life. She tells him clearly, I'm going to move. With you or without you. That sentence should start fires. It should light a panic in his chest. It should move him into action, into clarity, into love, into anything. But Sumit doesn't reach for her hand. He doesn't offer to get a place, doesn't say, wait, or let's rethink this, or even don't go. There's no hug, no panic, no doorstop moment where he breaks and picks his wife. Just another blink. Another nod that says nothing louder than words ever could. What you're watching now isn't a breakup. It's worse. It's the emotional version of flatlining while still breathing. They're both in the same scene, but only one person is still present. Jenny has tried respect, compromise, silence, tears, logic, patience, passion, and now she's bringing dignity into the room. And dignity doesn't share space with delusion. Sumit might believe he hasn't made a decision, but inaction is a decision. Silence is an answer. So maybe that's the truth. There's nothing else to unlock, nothing else to peel back. She called out for help, for change, for even a tiny fragment of love that wasn't held hostage by his parents' demands. And he stayed seated. And just like that, Jenny finally understands. The man who once promised to fight everyone to marry her won't even stand to fight for the space they both need to stay married. As the cameras slowly prepare to cut, Jenny gets up. No dramatic exit, no mascara-streaked meltdown, no last words cast like grenades over her shoulder. Appa, she simply stands and walks, with the stiffness of someone whose body finally decided to move after sitting in disappointment way too long. This is the final studio moment, but it doesn't feel like a climax. It feels like a quiet funeral for everything she hoped this marriage could become. She's not crying, not anymore. That phase is over. Jenny's not even angry. She's done. And when done finally replaces hurt, there's no turning back. What happens next depends on one man's decision. And we need to talk about what he did after these cameras left. Think of where she started, hiding in rooms, literally ducking past Sumit's parents like she was an intruder, lying about being his friend or roommate at family visits, just to avoid blowback while they waited for approval that took years. She sat through rejection after rejection, humiliation after humiliation, all for the chance to be chosen fully, publicly, without stipulations. She wasn't trying to get accepted into a home. She was fighting to be accepted into a future. And now, that woman, desperate for a corner of love to claim as her own, is gone. This Jenny doesn't wait to be picked. This Jenny isn't clinging to scraps of attention. She's emotionally packing up. Whether her physical bags follow is only a matter of time. And what's wild? Sumit used to chase her. You remember. It was his persistence that once held this love like iron. He went against his own culture, risked isolation, lost relationships, just to be with her. He made promises, big ones. Words like forever and together rolled off his tongue like prayers. So why did he stop chasing when she stayed? That's the heartbreak. Sumit fought with fire to win her love, but gets ice cold when it's time to protect it. Watch his body language during that studio closing. He doesn't get up when she does. Doesn't even lean forward. Hands slack, eyes dropped. It's like watching someone forget how to fight when fighting is the only thing that could still save this. And Jenny? You see her collapse. Emotionally, spiritually, not physically. It's like something quietly breaks for the last time. And there's no cleanup crew. This isn't the end of a scene. It's the end of belief. There's no disbelief left to hold on to. And here's the truth no one wants to admit. Sumit never needed to scream at his parents, disown anyone, or break ties. He just needed to choose. With action, not hesitation. With commitment, not curves and detours. But he didn't. And in that stillness, he made his decision. He treated neutrality like safety. But neutrality in a fight for love? That's just another form of rejection. So here's the question I'll leave with you. As smart, emotional, thinking people, what do you do when silence gives you your answer? Because Jenny didn't walk away to break something. She walked away because it was already broken. And she was the only one still trying to pick up the pieces while everyone else stepped over them. And in the end, she didn't make this choice. Sumit did, by not choosing at all. And what comes next? Well, you're going to want to see what happens after this walkout. Because once the cameras cut, so do the masks.